Hello and welcome to this two-part look at the Indian two-wheeler industry only on India Business Insights. The two-wheeler industry in India kicked in during the 1990s, especially after the BOP crisis. The new liberalization of the economy meant more players could enter the market, and with the opening up of the economy, people's income started rising along with India's GDP. The two wheeler industry in India has to a great extent been shaped by the evolution of the industrial policy of the country. The reforms in the 80s, like broadbanding, caused the entry of several new firms and products, which caused the existing technologically outdated products to lose sales volume and or exit the market. Finally, with liberalization in the 90s, the industry witnessed a stronger growth cycle. Another important factor was the growth in easy financing for the purchase of two wheelers. All factors combined, it is not wrong to say that the reforms of 1991 acted as a catalyst for the Indian auto sector, which was at an inflection point. The technological backwardness of the Indian two wheeler industry was one of the reasons for the initiation of reforms in 1981. Foreign collaborations were allowed for all two wheelers up to an engine capacity of 100 cc. This prompted a spate of new entries into the industry, and the majority of which entered the motorcycle segment, bringing with them new technology that resulted in more efficient production processes and products. During the 1990s, the two wheeler industry was completely deregulated. The two wheeler industry in the 90s was characterized by A. An increase in the number of models available in the market, which caused firms to compete based on product features, and B, an increase in sales volumes in the motorcycle segment vis a vis the scooter segment, reversing the traditional trend. The rise of Big Four. The rise of the Big Four in the Indian two wheeler industry and the eventual decline of scooters and some of the older players such as escorts truly show how well markets can perform if allowed to operate freely. By mid 90s, India was on a roll to becoming a global market, and the two wheeler industry was not lagging either. During the late 1990s, the sales for two wheelers had crossed the 3 million units per annum mark, and the production capacity was over 4 million units annually. Three experienced Indian business groups, Hero, Bajaj, and TVS, sourced technology from three prominent Japanese players like Honda, Kawasaki, and Suzuki, respectively, and partnered with them to launch modern 100 cc motorcycles in India. These three partnerships enabled the growth of sales of motorcycles in India from 7,59,000 units in 1983 to 4.1 million units in 2001. Technically, while Hero Motocorp Honda and TVS Suzuki were joint ventures with equity participation, the Bajaj Auto Kawasaki tie up was based on licensing of technology. The government policy at that time required that the Indian partners in joint ventures had to provide a no objection certificate for dissolving the joint venture when the overseas partner wanted to enter the Indian market as a standalone entity. This was done to help Indian companies, especially when the overseas partners decides to abruptly stop the transfer of technology or critical components. The Hero Honda chapter from 1984 to 2010. Hero Cycles of India and Honda Motors of Japan started a joint venture in 1984 named Hero Honda, the name that shaped the Indian two wheeler market and changed it forever. Indian market started seeing more nimble, lower cc, more economical, and lower priced bikes, which immediately attracted the masses. The rising middle class in the early 90s, as well as a desire to own a motorcycle, were very high. The Hero Honda joint venture became a turning point in the Indian two wheeler industry and helped to establish Japanese dominance in the auto sector, which is held even today despite many European and American companies entering the market. We have detailed videos on Hero Honda and the other major two wheeler companies, their models, etc. You will find the links in the description box. Hero is the brand name used by the Munjal brothers for their flagship company Hero Cycles Limited. A joint venture between the Hero Group and Honda Motor Company was established in 1984 as the Hero Honda Motors Limited at Dharuhera, India. Munjal family and the Honda Group both own a 26% stake in the company. During the 1980s, the company introduced motorcycles that were known for their fuel economy and low cost. This helped the company grow at a double digit pace since its inception. In 2001, the company became the largest two wheeler manufacturing company in India and globally. It maintains global industry leaders to date. The joint venture enjoyed massive success in the late 1990s and early 2000s. However, things started to get messy between the two partners by the end of 2000s. By December 2010, the board of directors of the Hero Honda Group had decided to terminate the joint venture between Hero Group of India and Honda of Japan in a phased manner. The Hero Group would buy out the 26% stake of the Honda in joint venture Hero Honda. Differences between the two partners have been brewing for quite some time. Honda was reluctant to fully and freely share technology with Hero, despite both companies having a 10-year tech tie up till 2014. And Hero was uneasy with the high royalty payouts for the Japanese company. The name was changed from Hero Honda Motors Limited to Hero Motocorp Limited on 29 July 2011. Currently, Hero Motocorp has five manufacturing facilities in India at Dharuhera and Gurugram in Haryana, Neemrana in Rajasthan, Haridwar in Uttarakhand, and Halol in Gujarat. Hero Motocorp, as of 2023, has five joint ventures and associate companies in the auto sector, namely Munjal Shova, AG Industries, Sunbeam Auto, Rockman Industries, and Satyam Auto Components. For the year end for fiscal year of 2023, the company had sold over 53.28 lakh units with a year on year growth of almost 8%. The company also has the record for the highest selling motorcycle of all time, Hero Splendor. Evolution. The company started with the launch of the Hero Honda CD100, which had claimed fuel efficiency of close to 82 kilometers per liter. The bike was also the first bike in the 100cc segment that came with a four-stroke engine and had upper market and attractive graphics. At all an affordable price when compared to the on-fields and Javas of that era. Models such as the Splendor and the Passion were insanely popular in the early 2000s, and no other manufacturer dared to enter into the 100cc segment. There were, however, few models from rivals, but their sales were comparatively much smaller. By the early start of the 2000s, people started moving to more sportier and powerful bikes, and Hero Honda, the company, then came with a master stroke, the Hero Honda Charisma. The Charisma redefined what a sports bike could be. The bike had a 150cc engine, aggressive riding stance, and also a comfortable ride. All these things in a bike that was priced very sensibly. By the launch of the Charisma, Hero Honda had already become a dominant player known for affordability and reliability, and the bike was an instant success, especially among youngsters. Charisma was also featured in the Dhoom movie franchise during the early 2000s. The joint venture, which started with the aim of providing affordable bikes, has now its presence in the premium segment as well. Hero partnered with Harley Davidson to launch the Harley Davidson 440 bike in 2023, thus shedding the image of being a budget manufacturer. The company has also successfully invested in Ether Energy, an EV startup, and also has its presence in the EV foray under the name of Hero Electric. Currently, Hero MotoCorp has more than 10 bikes and scooters in its lineup, starting at 100cc up to 440cc, and has one of the largest dealership and service networks in the country with over 1750 plus showrooms across 723 cities. Bajaj Auto from 1945 till today. Set up in 1945, Bajaj Auto is an Indian MNC automotive manufacturing company based in Pune. Bajaj Auto is a leading manufacturer of motorcycles, scooters, and auto rickshaws. Bajaj Auto was founded by late Sri Jaman Lal Bajaj in Rajasthan. Bajaj Auto is the world's third largest manufacturer of motorcycle and the second largest in India. It is the world's largest three-wheeler manufacturer. In December 2020, Bajaj Auto crossed a market capitalization of rupees 1 trillion, making it the world's most valuable two-wheeler company. The current market cap is rupees 1,45,000. Bajaj Auto was established on 29th November 1945 as Messrs. Bajaj Trading Corp Private Limited and initially imported and sold two and three wheelers in India. Bajaj Auto obtained a license from Government of India to manufacture two wheelers in 1959 and started making Vespa scooters. Bajaj also became a publicly listed company in the year 1960. As of 2019 internal data, Bajaj Auto has over 10,000 employees. Headed by Shri Rajiv Bajaj, the company has a presence across Asia, Africa, and Latin America with a robust network of dealerships spanning 70 plus countries. Bajaj initially started as a scooter manufacturer slash importer under license from Piaggio, Italy. With the opening up of the Indian two wheeler market in the 1980s, Bajaj also changed its branding from a scooter manufacturer to a two wheeler manufacturer. Bajaj, even though was a prominent name in India at that time, lacked the expertise in motorcycle manufacturing and was looking for a partner. In 1984, Bajaj signed a technical assistance agreement with Kawasaki, another Japanese automaker, to expand the production and sale of motorcycles in the local market. Bajaj's product in collaboration with Kawasaki was the Boxer, a gem of a motorcycle for the rural folks. Boxer was a rugged 100cc commuter targeted for the masses and was extremely powerful for the 1990s era. Even though the Boxer was a regular looking bike and was not quite up to the styling level of its arch rival Splendor, it managed to do well. With the start of the 2000s, the mindset of Indian consumers changed and they were no longer interested in entry level boxers, and the CD hundreds, hence Bajaj, had to quickly come up with a bike to stay in competition. And Bajaj bought the Pulsar series. It was the Pulsar series that made Bajaj a household name in the Indian market. Bajaj, until that time, was known for its scooters and three wheelers, went completely all out with the Pulsar series. The performance oriented Pulsar lineup was an instant hit in the Indian market, and even today, the Pulsar brand is going strong with almost 10 products from 125 to 250cc segment. The late 2000s were a period of rapid exports for all manufacturers, and Bajaj was not left behind either. It managed to create a name for itself on the global stage and is currently India's biggest exporter in the two wheeler segment. Bajaj currently has a presence in over 90 countries, with Nigeria as its biggest exporter market. Bajaj, as of 2023, has almost 46% share in India's two and three wheeler market. Bajaj bought back its legendary Chetak scooter in an EV avatar in 2021 and is currently sold in over 84 cities via 105 outlets. TVS Suzuki from 1976 till date. TV Sundaram Iyengar began with Madurai's first bus service in 1911 and founded the TVS company in the transportation business with a large fleet of trucks and buses under the name of Southern Roadways. TVS was one of the first players to foray into the spare parts business as Sundaram Clayton, in collaboration with Clayton Devandre Holdings, United Kingdom in 1962. With gaining expertise in the parts and systems, TVS set up a plant in Hosur, Tamil Nadu in 1976 to manufacture mopeds, a more affordable version of motorcycles with low speeds and a considerably higher fuel economy. By 1987, another Japanese entered the Indian market, Suzuki Motor Corporation, inked a technical collaboration with the TVS Group and a joint venture was set up. It was in 1989 that the Sundaram Clayton, who started as a spare part manufacturer, successfully entered the motorcycle industry and began its commercial production. The tie up that was initially for 1 year got renewed and lasted till 2001. TVS Suzuki was quite successful and launched many popular ICE vehicles such as Suzuki Supra, Suzuki Samurai, Suzuki Shogun, and Suzuki Shaolin. TVS Group in the two wheeler segment can be considered as a mix of both Hero and Bajaj. Hero primarily manufactured affordable commuter motorcycles, and TVS also has some of the most successful commuters in its portfolio, such as TVS Star and TVS City. These bikes were ridiculously popular in the 2000s, with everyone remembering them as the ad featured MS Dhoni. TVS also has a performance series of its own similar to the Pulsar lineup, TVS Apache Racing. The Apache series that was unveiled in 2006 has a fan base of its own, and the bikes are known primarily for their riding and handling. Since its inception, TVS has launched multiple variants of the Apache series and was one of the first to come up with a four-valve technology to improve power and torque. As of 2023, TVS has 7 Apache models from 160cc to 310cc. TVS has a total of 962 showrooms and dealerships across 479 cities in the Indian subcontinent. TVS exports its products to get over 80 plus countries across the globe. Royal Enfield 1955 till date. Royal Enfield is the only brand that has survived or rather thrived since it was imported to the Indian subcontinent. The bikes have successfully withstood the tests of time and have virtually owned the 350cc plus segment. The Royal Enfield Bullet, which was primarily produced for the Indian police force, has become a symbol of success for the brand. Rajdoot, Java, and Royal Enfield started their journey at around the same time in the Indian market, and except for Royal Enfield, today Gen Z or even some millennials would have forgotten about them. Royal Enfield today is the world's oldest global motorcycle brand in continuous production since its inception in 1901. The Indian chapter of Royal Enfield started in 1955 when the Redditch Company partnered with Madras Motors in India to form the Enfield India. To assemble under license the 350cc Royal Enfield Bullet motorcycle in modern day Chennai. By 1962, almost all the parts in its assembly were made in India, a big milestone in those times. Royal Enfield was selling in decent numbers despite being on the pricier side, and there was a saying in the 70s or 80s that each Royal Enfield comes with a problem and that was specific to that particular unit itself. There used to be specialized garages for the Enfield bikes, and aftermarket equipment as well as accessories were selling like hotcakes. Coming to the 1990s, Royal Enfield started feeling the pressure from the Japanese makers that entered India in the late 80s. In 1990, the Royal Enfield started the collaboration with Asia Group, a household name in tractors and commercial vehicles. Within 4 years, Royal Enfield merged with the Asia Group. Starting the 2000s brought bad news for Royal Enfield and Asia, and its Jaipur factory stopped production in 2002 primarily due to low sales figures. With time, Royal Enfield had to undergo a complete overhaul and the emission norms were getting tight. Then came the Royal Enfield Classic 350 in 2010, a bike with almost similar specs as the Bullet but with a more comfortable ride and more importantly a self start. Post that, things have been smooth with Royal Enfield and they have launched multiple products and are still considered market leaders in the 350cc segment. Royal Enfield currently has 9 bikes on sale and 2 models in advanced stages that are set up for launch in mid 2024. Scooters and mopeds. Vehicles that actually started the two-wheeler industry in India are the mopeds and scooters. Indian consumers got the taste of scooters back in the 1950s when Bajaj started making Vespas in India. Later on, mopeds emerged in the market. Mopeds were very popular due to them being gearless, highly fuel efficient, affordable, reliable, and much more. Mopeds were also used commercially in rural areas by small hawkers and vendors. It is not wrong to say that mopeds were the first commercial use two wheelers in India. A scooter or a motor scooter is a motorcycle with an underbone or step through frame, a seat, a transmission that shifts without the operator having to operate a clutch lever, a platform for the rider's feet, and a method of operation that emphasizes comfort and fuel economy. Elements of scooter design were present in some of the earliest motorcycles, and motor scooters have been made since at least in 1914. In post World War II Italy, the Piaggio Vespa became the standard for scooters and has remained so. Patented in April 1946, it used aircraft design and materials. API was the first scooter manufacturer in India with a Lambretta model in the 1950s. Bajaj Auto manufactured its line of scooters from 1972 to 2009, which included the Chetak, Legend, Super, and Priya. The Chetak and Legend were based on the Italian Vespa Sprint. It was discontinued in 2009. Another Vespa partner in India was LML Motors. Beginning as a joint venture with Piaggio in 1983, LML, in addition to being a large parts supplier for Piaggio, produced the P Series scooters for the Indian market. In 1999, after a protracted dispute with Piaggio, LML bought back Piaggio's stake in the company and the partnership ceased. LML continued to produce and also export the P series variant known as the Stella in the US market and by other names in different markets. Since the launch, the scooters haven't evolved much in terms of tech and features. The initial scooters were equipped with air cooled two stroke engines and were capable of doing speeds around 80 kilometers per hour. However, the vehicles were very unsafe at higher speeds and had a lot of vibrations in the handlebars and other parts. Poor braking performance at high speeds and smaller tires made safety a big issue, even though the vehicles had good leg room for the rider and made leg injuries almost negligible, yet scooters failed to catch up to the newer, faster, modern 100cc bikes that came in the late 1980s. And once the Japanese entered the market, it was a constant downhill for the scooters since then. Bajaj and LML tried their level best and even provided some modern features such as four stroke engines and electric start, but the younger buyers weren't charmed by it. By the late 2010s, the scooter market for LML and Bajaj was almost negligible, and the people who bought scooters did so primarily for nostalgic reasons. All in all, with the rise of Japanese players in the Indian market and with the coming of 100cc affordable bikes, scooters became less and less common. The younger generation stereotyped scooters as vehicles primarily meant for the older generation and hence were reluctant to buy one. Even though brands such as Bajaj and LML tried hard, it became increasingly difficult to make a profit or just break even. Inventory started piling up with the dealers who themselves were finding it hard to get rid of the existing stocks, and by late 2010s, the scooters disappeared altogether. Another player in the two wheeler market, Kinetic Motors, also fell wayside during this period, and after decades of poor financial performance, LML is barely a credible player in the market. Mopeds. A moped is a type of small motorcycle, generally having a less stringent licensing requirement than full fledged motorcycles. Historically, the term exclusively meant a similar vehicle with both bicycle pedals and a motorcycle engine. Mopeds typically are quite slow when compared to motorcycles. Traditional mopeds are distinguishable by their pedals, similar to a bicycle. Some mopeds have a step through frame design, while others have motorcycle frame designs, including a backbone and a raised fuel tank, mounted directly between the saddle and the head tube. The word moped was coined by the Swedish journalist Harald Nilsson in 1952 from the words motor and peddler. Like some of the earliest two wheeler motorcycles, all mopeds were once equipped with bicycle pedals. The popularity of mopeds in India as one of the most convenient personal transport vehicles has taken shape since its introduction. First manufactured mopeds in India were by the TVS company at Hosur in Tamil Nadu. Hero Group, the parent of Hero Motocorp, was also a significant moped manufacturer at one time. Mopeds in India are usually used for the purpose of transportation, used by those in the lower middle class segment. The mopeds were not very stylish in their looks, but this factor was overshadowed by the economy factor. Firstly, the price of the mopeds in India was very reasonable, and secondly, it consumed very less fuel. Though it was underpowered, less than 100cc, the mopeds in India were popular. When there were no fancy and high tech motorbikes or scooters like today, the common man used to get around cities in Kinetics Luna or TVS XL. People who could shell out a little more dough would opt for a Vespa, Lambretta, or even a Java and Royal Enfield Bullet. Easy to ride and maneuver, mopeds were used to get around or even transport light goods, especially in rural areas where public transport in those days was little to none. There were several models to choose from over the years: the Suvega, BSA Bond, Luna, Royal Enfield Mofa, Hero Punch, and the TVS range. TVS Moped, the XL100, is the only one still in production, and the rest are just forgotten memories. TVS XL. The TVS Moped has stood the test of time and is the only one that is still in production. The first model was rolled out in 1980 and was a 50cc two stroke model. Several upgrades and facelifts were released over the years. In 2000, TVS Sport got a 70cc engine, and in 2015, India's first 100cc four stroke moped was rolled out. TVS to date has sold over 13 million units of mopeds in India. As of 2024, TVS produces the XL100 in several variants, including one with an electric start. Suvega. Coimbatore headquartered Mopeds India Limited manufactured the Suvega in technical collaboration with the French company Motobican. The production facility was set up in Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh. The first production model was the Suvega Super 50, which was based on the Motobican Moblet. The other three models were the Suvega 717, Suvega Samrat, and Suvega Super Deluxe were produced till Mopeds India became defunct in 1988. Royal Enfield Mofa. The Mofa was produced by Royal Enfield in the 1980s. It had a 22cc engine that put out a power of zero point 0.8 bhp. It was more of a bicycle with a small engine and fun to ride, and did not require registration with the transport department. The fuel tank could hold just about 1.5 liters, but fuel efficiency was about 90 kilometers to liter. Kinetic Luna. The most popular and famous name in the moped segments belongs to the Kinetic Luna. The Kinetic Luna was a 50cc moped manufactured by Indian company Kinetic Engineering from 1972. The Wings was the exception with a 35cc engine instead of the usual 50 to 60cc engines. Production of the Luna stopped in the early 2000s. BSA Bond. The Bond was a 50cc mini motorcycle that had a monoshock rear suspension, but there were dual shock models as well. The bike was produced by tea leaf makers Brook Bond India, with the first units being produced in the early 1980s. It had a 4-speed gearbox and was used in motocross events in India. Despite being only 50cc engine, the presence of a gearbox made it popular for street use as well. The bike was produced for only a few years and went out of production in the late 80s. Hero Punch. The Punch was probably the most commonly seen moped of the 20th century, primarily due to its sheer agility and ease of use in traffic. Punch was an Austrian company that sold its production line to Hero Group once it went out of production. It had a 65cc engine with two gears, and there was a three-geared and automatic variant as well. The production of the bike started in 1988 and ended in 2003. While one hardly ever sees mopeds on the road, scooters have come back as EVs. While we will see the rise of EVs and other revolutions in the two-wheeler industry in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more such informative content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.